No one speaks about this nearly enough, bro. That this world will always put the women, the children, the elderly, even the other genders in front of men. No one cares about a man's life, and you know what? I don't actually think that that's such a big deal. Because you see, in this world, especially how we've evolutionized as men, we always had to get up, keep going, and doing what we had to do, keep ourselves collected, calm, moving forward, so that the women, the children, and the elderly were taken care of. But you see, there gets a point in a man's life, and this could be where you're at right now, and I've had many periods of my life where I've been this way, where you shut off, and you become cold. Well, the truth is, in this world, being emotionally unavailable, being a bit cold-hearted, is kind of like, that's not what you should be. But the truth is, I don't believe that there's too much wrong with that, to some extent. Because you can go through so much in your life, and it's all subjective, but life comes, and life doesn't pull its punches. By no means. Life doesn't give a shit about you. Doesn't give a shit about your plans, your goals, your dreams, your family. Doesn't care. So, you're gonna have to understand that if life doesn't pull its punches, well, there's gonna be a bit of you that shuts off to the world and realizes, well, okay, that's not important. This isn't like something that I should let bother me. I'm not gonna talk to that person because look at him. But most of us guys don't realize that we can get stuck in this period of our lives where it can be masked then, where you become a little cold and you shut people off, you're a bit emotionally withdrawn, you don't really have a lot of emotion behind you, you're just going through life and you've just closed the world off. But the thing is, and I'm going to tell you and be completely open and honest with you, I think that's a launching pad to success, to becoming a better man, and to getting what you want in your life. Because most of us don't realize as men, the biggest driving force that we can ever have is pain. And the flavor and taste of a man's life is pain. I'll tell you a story about myself. And I want to circle this back to you so that you get a genuine understanding that this relates to you. My whole life growing up was savage. I grew up in public housing, and the nickname of my public housing was the ghetto. For 21 years of my life, I lived in a place where I would step outside my door, and you'd have to watch out for needles. Every second day, the police were there. I have known someone that killed their mum. There were gunshots going off. This was a crazy place to live. Everyone addicted to drugs, fights all the time, teenage girls getting pregnant, teenage boys going to jail. That was the place that I grew up in. And we grew up, me, my brothers, and my mum, so broke, to the point we didn't have dinner at times. And my father, he left. But before he left a mark. You see, my father wasn't a good man. He drank, and then he fucked off. But he left a mark in a way that's very tough to come back from. And it's that type of mark. But, you know what? It was a good thing that he left. Because of the type of man he was. But there I was. A young boy with my two older brothers and my mum living in public housing, the ghetto. And she did the best that she could. But, trust me bro, if you ever come from a place that is similar to mine, you know that there are other boys in your neighborhood or even other girls, and everyone's kind of ready to go out, cause trouble, involved in the wrong stuff because their families are all fucked up. And that life called my brothers, and it got them quick. And that caused all this chaos, drama, issues in my house, bro. I'll let you put the piece of the puzzle together, but what happens when you're a young boy involved in drugs and crime and getting into fights and doing all of that? Well, you end up in a certain place. And if you do too many drugs, you end up in another certain place. And I've seen that both in my brothers. You see, without a father, I looked at my brothers as my role models. And they were. But unfortunately, they were role models in the wrong thing. And that's because they never had a role model, so they never were taught. But I also looked at them as my fathers. Funny, because I had two dads then after my main dad left, and it was my brothers. But I never realized that they were going through hell and back themselves, just trying to figure out life. So, my father figures, my brothers, I'll tell you that they done so many things to me that no father would ever do to their son. But you know what? My father did do these to me, so I must be a weird anomaly. But I've been bashed, I've been beaten, I've had a knife to my neck more times than I can count. I've got scars under here, bro. If I didn't have this luscious, long, sexy beard, you'd see all these marks. A savage life. And that was normal for me growing up. That became my norm. And then as I got older, at the age of 15, I started using drugs to the point that I was a drug addict all the way up until the age of 20. Getting involved in the wrong things. I mean, I had some fun, but it also ended up destroying me. And destroying me in a way, bro, that, well, trust me, it's hard to come back from. But here I am, and I have been able to build myself up in a way to pass this on to you. Through life, and I can still tell you, to this day, my life is extremely difficult. I still got this going wrong, and this going wrong, and this all happens with my family. Like, it hasn't changed too much in the 5 years that we've been out of the public housing, the ghetto. It has a bit, I've changed, but man, I tell you, a lot's still going on. But throughout my life, there were periods where I became cold. And to some degree, I'm pretty cold now, but it's probably because it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I've gone shirtless. But that's alright. But being cold isn't all that bad. But it's staying cold, which is something that is an issue for most of us guys. Because we can go down here and most of us won't get back out. Because what will happen is that we'll put the blame on the world. We'll play the victim card. This was how I was brought up, or this girl left me, or just feel sorry for me. We'll play the victim. Poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. And I tell you, I've played that card more times than I can count. I had a whole deck of cards filled with that one card, the victim card. And I played it as much as I could. Until I realized that never got me anywhere. It made me get what? Some dim sympathy? From people I'm not even friends with anymore? It made me feel better about myself so I could sit at home and smoke weed all day or pop pills on the weekend or do lines of coke. I'm the victim so I can do all these bad things. I got older and I realized that those hard things and hard times and still the hard things that I go through to this very moment filming this video are assets. And periods of being cold, where you kind of withdraw from the world, are those launching pads that can build you up and open your eyes up a little bit to a new version of yourself that thinks differently, who's more focused, who's more determined, who's more ruthless. Because, you see, when you become someone that can utilize pain as fuel, as a launch pad, as lessons, and all of us have pain, whether it comes from your childhood, whether it comes from shit that's gone wrong, we're all walking around with some form of pain. But as a man, it's your duty to not open up about how you're feeling all the time. Because that's what we're kind of being pushed. Feel this type of way. Okay, there's something wrong with you. Go take some form of medication that alters your brain and then you'll feel happy. Yeah, that's real happiness. Oh, you're feeling a bit sad? Well, hey, it's alright, bro. Take the day off and sit in your room and jerk off. Sit with your feelings and do nothing. Don't take any action. That's kind of that's kind of the solution that we're given nowadays. But I can tell you the antidote to being a cold-hearted, emotionally unavailable man. And that is that taking a period of your life where you're going through something and extrapolating and extracting the lessons, taking the fuel, and kind of coming out of this metamorphosis that will happen when you close off from that person or that person, you're a little bit shut off from the world. You create this fusion of energy and a different mindset, and you open the door to the world after you've closed it off for a little while, and you go out and you attack and you conquer and you go out and get what it is that you want out of your life. You see, most of us don't realize that whoever we look up to, whether you've got some idols like David Goggins or Tate or really anyone of that kind of masculine, moving forward mindset, you'll see that there's a long history of pain. And now it's just your turn to understand that if you're wanting to be anyone in your life, that you're going to have to go through a tremendous amount of pain. Maybe close the world off a little bit. And I'm not saying that you have to become that guy that sits in his room and you're in the fetal position. But I'm saying if you have to take a break from that person or this person, or if you have to shut the world off a little, that's fine. Because as a man, you're not always meant to be happy and giddy and childlike. It's perfectly fine to feel a little bit of anger. It's perfectly fine to say fuck you to the world for a minute. I need to recalibrate, reset, reframe so I can come out and that person, he's gone. This thing that was bothering him, that's nothing no more. That is perfectly fine. And you got to realize as a man, the transformation and the power that you can get from taking something in your life that has been something that's broken you, that's been something that's stopped you, that's been something that's caused your stomach to churn, and taking it and directing it into a singular focus. And that focus can be leveling up, that focus could be making money, that focus could be being a man of your word, that focus could be really anything that you want, and locking in. You see, there are so many things that come from periods of our life where we become cold. And I can tell you this because, bro, I have been through so much. I just skimmed the surface with what I told you just before. But there's so much that we can get. And I want to lay it out for you. You see, as a man, it's a prerequisite to have gone through pain. There's a reason why women love scars. And there's a reason why the strongest men have a history of pain. It's because it makes a man a man. There is no genuine man without pain. And I did mention it is subjective. But as a man, this is how I want you to view pain. Or a period of cold-heartedness. Because I believe it's a good thing to some degree when you have some emotional control behind it. Because if you're still cold, you can still try your best to put on a smile. If you're feeling a little bit cold or disconnected from the world, doesn't mean that you have to completely stop and get the shit that you got to get done, the most important things. Because as a man, it is so important to always keep the trajectory going, moving forward, putting one foot in front of another. Doesn't matter if you got a knife in your belly. Doesn't matter if you're missing an arm. Doesn't matter if you can't walk. You have to hop. That's it. As a man, that's how we've been designed. When we take it back to where we've evolutionized from, we couldn't stop. Men set sail, the women followed behind carrying the children, and we said, we're going this way. Anything that comes in our way, we will kill, or we will be killed trying to kill them. Didn't matter if it was animals, saber-toothed tigers, didn't matter if it was another tribe. We set sail, the women were behind, with the children, and the men fought. Men lost arms, men were killed, men were badly broken and beaten. Couldn't stop, had to keep going. Well, the truth is, it's still the same for us. Can't stop. Got to keep going. Yeah, as I mentioned, you might have to close the door to some people, shut off a little bit, but it's still very important to keep moving forward. But as a man, there are many benefits from becoming or going through shit. So many. And the biggest one for me is the immunity to little things. Because you see, we're living in a time right now. Someone looks at you funny, that can ruin your day. Someone cuts you off in traffic, oh man, you're thinking about that 2 weeks in the future. You could go through something, someone might be whispering about you, and you're like, it really ruins you. You could be so anxious or scared or depressed, and you can't even go outside. There are men living lives exactly that way. So anxious, so scared, so depressed, so lonely, not trying to do anything though to really fix it. Well, the truth is, as a man, once you go through enough, you realize that you don't really give a shit about all these little things that once used to stop you. You just can't. Because you know what you've been through to get to where you're trying to get, or you know what you've been through to be at where you're at. And that's one of the most beautiful things, and I really do mean that, of going through so much, shutting off a little bit. You realize that the things that are literally grabbing so many other people by the neck is something that you can just flick off. And that's a very powerful thing, because what most of us don't realize is success is completely correlated with how much pain and how much kind of nonchalance, and an attitude of I don't give a fuck a man has. So you got pain, you got success, and then you got how much pain, stress, pressure, chaos a man can withstand, and you'll get what you want. Success and pain are linked. Success and stress, chaos, disaster are linked. And how much you can handle, the more successful you'll become. It allows you to become self-sufficient. Because in this world, as a man, nothing's going to be handed to you. Never has been, never will be. Unless you come from a family that, is wealthy and rich and, But majority of the time, you never want that as a man anyway because, it doesn't teach you the fundamental lessons of becoming a man, which is getting your own. But it teaches you how to be self-sufficient. Meaning that you just learn how to do things on your own. It allows you to honestly negate every single thing that tries to stop you dead in your tracks because, you now know that shutting yourself off, recalibrating, coming back out to the world has given you this ability to have a singular focus on really anything that you want to go after and get. And you'll find the best ways to do that. And most of the time, that's from cutting people off. That's from having the discipline to realize that that video game doesn't serve you. Or watching those movies, there's no benefit to them. And it's so efficient because when you realize that the only thing stopping you as a man getting to where you're trying to get is how much you've been focusing on it and how much time you've been giving it. Well, when you've shut off a little bit, you've recalibrated, you've gone through the ringer of your mind to emerge stronger, you get your time back. Because you realize that bullshit that used to stop you. You couldn't stop fapping. You realize you can easily stop that because, I've been through it. That video game that you were addicted to or the movies that you used to watch or the time you spend scrolling, you won't be able to do it. In my life, I realized I can't waste time. I can't not be moving forward because I see it. I see through what the world wants me to be. And it's the same thing for you. The world is pushing you to become a weak, docile, fragile man. There's a reason why social media is free. There's a reason why fast food is cheap. There's a reason why X video sites are free. Because, they want you to be a certain way of man. And they can keep pushing you to consume. And what happens when you consume? You buy. You spend the little money you got on that fast food, on the OnlyFans subscription, on the stupid things that you feel that will make you feel better because you're so insecure because you've been riddled with all these bad things and they got ya. It's a joke. But when you become cold, you shut the world off and you recalibrate and you understand, you're like, you honestly do say, fuck you to the world. You say, I'm getting what's mine and the things that are stopping most men aren't going to stop me. So I really do believe there are so many things that come from being cold. You develop leadership skills because you're able to lead yourself. You're realizing that, I am a man that, I have to be self-sufficient. I have to do my own thing. Well, that develops so many traits inside you that other men start to respect. That women can't resist because there's something different about you. You carry yourself in a way that's forward moving, shoulders back, chest out, not looking so worried what everyone else is thinking, they're looking at me. And people notice that. Men definitely do because there's something different about your step, something different about your composure. You know what? That's because of the scars and the coldness and the emotionally unavailability that you got towards all this other bullshit. Because so many people are emotionally invested in this, emotionally invested in that, crying away because something happened on a TV show and so worried what other people think. I would tell you, as a man, the best formula to life to getting to where you're trying to get is realizing that the scars that you have to, the things that leave scars on you are the building blocks to get you to where you're trying to get. The formula to life as a man is really understanding that regardless of how you feel, you need to do what you're supposed to do. And anything that breaks you has the potential to make you. And I do believe it's one of the best things for a man, especially me having gone through so many things in my life, to realize now I've got unlimited energy, motivation, drive, a force behind me, that the only thing that will stop me is me, But I know what type of man I am, and you got to figure out what type of man you are, which you will if you take what I've taught you in this video, bro, and you realize it, you do the internalization of it. You start to realize that, nothing can stop me. Because I am me. I've been through what I've been through. And it's a savage thing, bro, but it is the realist. But with that, I'll end the video telling you. In this world, we choose who we are. We don't have to be defined by our circumstances. Being a little bit cold, a bit pissed off, shutting the world off, shutting some people off, recalibrating, reframing yourself, it ain't a bad thing. It ain't. It's a necessary thing. If you want to do coaching with me, bro, or you want to join a group of young men all on self-improvement, go to the link in the description, message me on Instagram, and we'll get to work. I love you, brother.